And we're live.
Hello, wrestling fans. Welcome to another episode of the SmackDown Double Down. I'm your host, Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, joined by the wonderful Kevin Kellen, who has decided to give me his Friday night and help me run the show for the second week in a row.
Yeah. Gotta love BeLive, being BeLive, dealing with BeLive problems.
Yeah, we've been having technical difficulties for the last 20 minutes, but we're finally here. Good to go. Excited.
So what do you think of SmackDown, dude?
Oh, it was great. A little sudden, I guess, based on that ending. I thought they'd kind of draw it out a little bit more, but you had Jey Uso acknowledging Roman Reigns finally after months of fighting him and taking the if you can't beat him, join him approach. So, it was good. I think Daniel Bryan was the perfect choice. Everybody loves Daniel Bryan, so if you're going to have someone to turn on, Daniel's the guy to do that with. Obviously, everyone's going to be sympathetic for Daniel. So another hot angle to close the show. It was a nice kind of way to bookend the show, having them start and finish it. Plenty of other, yes, love the shirt. I got one hanging up in my closet anyway. Daniel Bryan's my favorite guy, always has been. So
yeah, he's one of my favorite guys to watch and follow the show, where I can just kind of turn off like the WrestleZone reporter hat and just enjoy a wrestler in the ring. Like he's on that list of guys that I just still mark out for all the time. All that good stuff. And I was just happy that it was in the main event. Yeah. Everyone's be like, oh, they buried him. He got buried. He's buried. Everyone's going to rush that. I don't think he's buried. He's in the main event. so like, you can't be buried if you're in the main event, guys. Like, you got to get that out of your head. But quite the main event, though. A really, really hard hitting match where you could see that there was something wrong with Jey Uso the entire time.
Exactly.
Like, they really laid into that. And I love the point where they had the promo earlier in the night where Daniel Bryan was simple in saying that, everyone's like thinking, oh, is he the same guy because he lost to Roman? I think he's better because he pushed Roman, and I'm going to push him. And like, I'm excited. It's like the thing about Daniel Bryan that's really settled in now, where he just wants to have these really great competitive matches, and almost in a way where he kind of understands I could lose a match, but I want to have the best match I can have.
Exactly.
And that logic plays into him. And that's why I didn't get the feeling that he was buried, even though he got laid out and Roman came out and said, beat him up. I want more. Prove it to me. Prove that you're loyal to me. Prove it to him. That was a really good line. And it was a really, really competitive match. And that point in the match where it kind of like switched for Bryan when he starts to, oh, you're going to go there now? like that. Like that was like fun. And that's kind of how you would act if you're in like a competitive fight, but not exactly a fight. Like it turned from like a match to a fight in a cool way. Pretty cool stuff here. If you guys are with us live, go ahead and fire off your comments here, man.
Yeah, we got one here from Michael Yoffa. Sorry if I butchered your name, but saying that good SmackDown probably getting the Bloodline stable soon. And that was my first thought too. That that was rumored at least as early as Hell in a Cell, and now we're kind of seeing them plant the seeds for that. And it'll be interesting to see, if Jimmy Uso kind of plays a role in that once he comes back. But definitely getting the seeds planted for that tonight, where you had Jey aligning with Roman. And Kevin, you were saying it was a really competitive, hard-hitting match. And I think that was the theme of the show, where pretty much every big match felt really physical and athletic and just, pretty tough. And we talked about that last week, where SmackDown really is becoming that workhorse brand. And that really stood out to me tonight, where you had Kevin Owens and Dolph Ziggler open the show with a really competitive match. And Dolph's the guy where, every time he's in there, you think he's going to lose. But tonight I was actually a little worried that he was going to win, because they had this like at least 10-minute match. Dolph was dominating for stretches. So part of me thought they were actually going to give Dolph the win or something like that. But obviously Kevin Owens picked up the win, so he qualified for SmackDown. And that was another theme of tonight, where you had several superstars qualify for the SmackDown Survivor Series teams, because this year they're actually trying to make Survivor Series mean something by having the superstars qualify for them, which is a nice touch to me. I like seeing that.
I get that, but I like SmackDown certainly more than Raw, just because it flows better at 2 hours. And I mean, that's just the be all. That's the asterisk you can tie to anything when you want to compare Raw to SmackDown. And it doesn't feel like there's any fat on it. Like it's very, very. It's a lean show. It moves very, very quickly, and it makes it flies by in 2 hours.
It does, but I will say the first hour was a little slow, because they loaded it up with these long video packages, and it felt like an episode of Raw a bit. And like, Raw can get away with it because it has 3 hours, but when you have SmackDown, you want them to maximize those minutes. And I was
but there's also an advertising reason for that. Like, it's the progressive match flow, and there's a reason. There's a reason for that.
And the Daniel Bryan one was good. The match one for Daniel Bryan was good, because it reminded me of everything he's done.
I don't know why you had to remind me who Daniel Bryan was, but I also understand, like, this is still a show where people don't watch wrestling all the time. You know, like baseball ended. All right, maybe I'm going to start watching wrestling again.
Yeah,
you know, like and that always kind of happens when football ends. Like, all right, I'm gonna, friends of yours that just suddenly start following WWE again, and they drop in and out of it. I mean, for hardcore fans who watch our show all the time, they always get mad about stuff like that. How come we have to keep playing video back? It's just like, because an 8-year-old kid isn't going to remember the show if he hasn't watched it in a month.
Right.
That's why. Like somebody who's 30 or 40 or 50 who hasn't watched in a month, who's hopping back in, this is designed for anyone.
I just think they take it too extreme sometimes. So you do like several video packages sometimes for the same feud in the same show. I think that's where the real complaints come in, especially on an episode. Tonight wasn't as bad. Raw gets pretty bad where it's like you'll have, hour 1 a video package or something, maybe hour 3 a video package from the same thing. It gets really repetitive, and it's kind of clear that they're kind of like trying to fill time of just emptiness, whereas they don't necessarily have actual content matches, segments necessarily to fill that airtime. But tonight I just noticed it because SmackDown usually doesn't do it as much, and tonight it stood out to me, especially because you usually want the first hour to be a little more content and action driven, where it's instead of falling back on these video packages. It started with this like 5-minute video package for Roman, and I thought that was a little too much like Raw for me. But it picked up. We had this good match with Kevin and Dolph. Both of them obviously good workhorse guys. Kevin picked up the win, so he qualified. And at the end of the show, we had Jay qualify for Survivor Series. So now we have 2 members for the men's team, Kevin and Jay, and already the pretty star-studded team right there. And again, just both matches really demonstrated that SmackDown, definitely the workhorse brand. I mean, obviously both Raw and SmackDown have very physically gifted people, but SmackDown's really given these guys the time to put on these good matches. And I think we saw that in the women's match too, where you had a women's match to qualify for the women's team. And it was Bianca Belair, Natalya, and Billie Kay getting in there and kind of showing SmackDown's women's division after the draft really getting shaken up like that. And thankfully, Bianca Belair picked up the win, which is very good. She's been really getting hyped with these video packages. Finally getting to see her in the ring 2 weeks in a row. I can't say enough good things about her. She's got the look, she's got the charisma. She's physically very impressive. Her and Montez Ford both incredible. I really do see very, very good things for both of them. So I was glad to see both pick up respective wins, and I think the world of the both, and they're both very talented. Montez Ford's currently the tag team champion. I think Bianca Belair is going to be the women's champion. I'll say like no more than a year. I think they're just going to strap a rocket to her and push her as well they should. What do you think, Kevin?
I got the impression that Bianca Belair is just, as I've been saying, they're going to protect the heck out of her. I think they see a lot of potential in what she can be. The personality just bursts off the screen. Natalya is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. She can take the loss. It's okay.
Yeah, she can afford
for Billie Kay, this is a little bit more of a hit. You just had your tag team broken up. You just moved over to, you can say it's pretty cool you're on SmackDown. Don't get it twisted, guys. Even if you have a small part on a wrestling show, if you're on SmackDown, you're on the most watched show in wrestling right now. In all of wrestling. Sorry, AEW fans. That's the truth, okay? Like, by a wide margin, all right? So you can still say that, and I think I had some interaction with a noteworthy shitster on wrestling Twitter and wrestling media tonight, and he said that she's awful, that Billie Kay is awful. I'm not saying that Billie Kay is the best wrestler, all right? And she had some transitions that were kind of clunky tonight, right? But I don't think she needs to be. I don't think everyone in WWE needs to be this like 5-star in the Tokyo Dome, has all the moves, a wrestler you always pick in the video game wrestler. That's not her role. Her role is to be a desperate goof. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what she was doing in the match. She played a role, and you know what she did? She made Bianca look great. That was her role. The story was Bianca cannot be denied. That was the story of this match. Natalya is this the most winning superstar, female superstar in WWE history. She's won all these titles. Beating Natalya still means something, even though a lot of people have beaten her, right? But Natalya could always just turn on anybody. The match wasn't super fantastic. There were some parts that were kind of,
Yeah.
But it did its job. Made Bianca look like a star. She's legitimate. She should be on that Survivor Series team. And I do think she's going to have that Keith Lee part, like Keith Lee had last year at Survivor Series, where in this big kind of all-star game that is Survivor Series, she's going to have a standout performance in the Women's Survivor Series match. Absolutely. I think the whole match is built around making her look like a stud, and then let's see what happens with her going to Royal Rumble. I think she has a very, very high potential chance of being the female superstar for WWE going into WrestleMania season. They're going to have to build out the character and give you a little bit more passion than just the trash talk, but the Rocket's tied to Bianca right now.
Absolutely.
Just get on the ride.
You know, you just mentioned the Survivor Series is an all-star game this year, and it definitely has that feel where you've got these brand versus brand matches, champion versus champion. So at least right now, we have Sasha Banks scheduled to face Asuka in the Battle of the Women's Champions, but Bayley came out and challenged Sasha Banks to a rematch for the title next week, which is a good match to kind of put on TV. Hopefully, we don't see too much shenanigans or anything like that. It'll just be a good TV match that'll kind of end decisively. I would hope that Sasha Banks wins, but as Bayley pointed out, Sasha does not always have the best track record for keeping the title, so the internet will let you know that. I would hope not, but you know,
have you been on wrestling Twitter? They were already bitching about this.
Yeah,
how does this turn from you love this feud to you hate this feud? And you got this match at Hell in a Cell on Sunday that was for some people the best match on the show. For me, it was Roman and Jay. And we'll talk about that because you know we have more Roman and Jay stuff to cover here. But it was like I was kind of like I didn't love Sasha's promo tonight. Like I thought it was fine. I didn't think it was bad, but it wasn't like I'm here. Like I'm fine. I finally got rid of Bayley, and what's the next thing? We get more Bayley. I do think that is where it turned people. Like it's so much of a good thing where I think people would have been liked if they got separated and then maybe they came back at it right before Mania. You can do the final blow off at Mania, but isn't a Hell in a Cell final blow off though?
It should be. It certainly should be. Like that's the point.
But I mean, like what were they going to do? Was Carmella just going to walk in? We know we got a Carmella promo tonight. It was pretty good. The untouchable line, like she's really settled into whatever that character is. Right?
I don't know if I'm feeling the character.
So you don't know. I'm going to like wait and see. You know what I mean? I'm not loving it.
I haven't gotten a good impression.
Yeah, I mean, she had the whole thing with the champagne being poured for her and how she's untouchable. We've had a lot of characters like that, though. You know, I mean, it isn't a particularly original character, but I'm going to wait and see. I've seen people take an unoriginal character and make it their own. I think Carmella is a personality person, almost like Billie Kay, where you don't think of her as a fantastic wrestler. I mean, people hated when she had the SmackDown Women's Championship. They were with her when she won it, but then really turned on her when she got it. And I think maybe just playing into that kind of people turning on her type thing could be something real. But back to Sasha and Bayley. We're going to get a match from them. What, next week? We're going to get another match on TV. I mean, the thing is, people forget this. Like, everyone's like, they're giving it away. If you're going to do it, I'll give it on Survivor Series. Maybe it will be. Maybe it will be after next week. Because we still have a couple weeks to the pay-per-view.
Right.
And I'm of the thought where it's just like, I get where people are discontent, but I get the logic in. Let's put this on TV because this is a big match, and they've already done it on TV a handful of times. It's getting there. It's getting from like you've given me this thing, I like it. Now, what's the next thing? And I would like some of that later. You can't go to McDonald's every day.
That's true. I would hope not.
But the McRib is back, so I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go and poison my body with the McRib. Let me say that the opinions of me do not reference those of WrestleZone or any of our corporate sponsors. The McRib is awesome. All right, I'm just saying junk food is junk food. That's it.
We're not sponsored by McDonald's, but
no,
kudos to the McRib.
We're not going to be now. This is the dumb thing I just did. None of us are getting free. We're not getting free Happy Meal toys like this guy. This guy.
You know someone who wishes they had a Happy Meal toy, Kevin?
Who's that?
Lars Sullivan, who came out and cut a promo about how he used to be bullied when he was a kid.
I don't like boys. I don't like boys.
I think I was the only person on wrestling Twitter that actually liked the promo.
Like the Mick Foley, like Mrs. Foley's baby boy type promo. Remember that one? Like have you ever seen that one in the 90s?
Yes,
I'm showing my age. Like that was the one where like Mankind kind of said like I was a weird kid and I ate worms and like stuff like that. They were going in that direction. And I'm not saying that Lars can't pull that off or that this was bad, but it wasn't great. I'm going to
defend it. Okay, I thought it was a good way. Granted, we all know what's happening with Lars behind the scenes, but I'm saying if you look at it in a vacuum, what's happening on the screen, I thought it was a good promo in the sense that it made him somewhat sympathetic, where he was talking about his experience of bullying, and I think that people that have experience getting bullied could kind of relate to that. I know I did. It resonated with me. not that I'm going to go out there and, like Lars said, make it my mission to make the world my playground of destruction. But I thought it was sympathetic in the sense that just to kind of get a feel for what he's trying, what he's motivated by, and what this guy's been through character wise. And it certainly made me more interested to see Lars Sullivan than it was last week. And
it felt like they were baby facing him though.
A little bit. And I don't know if I agree with that. I think
I didn't get they were completely baby facing him. They're doing that thing where it's like the heel who's been wronged,
yes,
who just wants to take it out on everybody, and that's kind of what Lars is doing. Doesn't matter. There's no rhyme or reason to what he's doing. He's going to go out to the ring and like wreck people, which was what they did with him like a year ago, and now they're doing it on SmackDown. So I don't know. Like, I'm not really sold on him. I mean, he's never had one of those performances that makes me go like, oh, wow, that's actually great. He has all the skills. Physically, he looks like he should be a wrestler. He talks like he should be a wrestler. But there's just something off. Like just something, like there's like the finish isn't there, like, and I'm not saying the move or anything.
Right. You mean
finishing
like the
touch of what really dials him in. And I don't want to say I can find another Lars Sullivan, but it feels like there is another Lars Sullivan in the Performance Center or something like that. And this is a guy who's been in the system for a long, long time. I'm just saying the pressure is on him now with the stop and the start and the injuries, all of the scandal with him as well, right?
Yeah.
To when you're that guy, how are you going to perform beyond that? Like, what are you going to do to really take what's given to you and make it count? I'm not putting it on him, but in a way, it kind of is at this point. Like they really have given him a whole lot of stuff to work with. He's been able to beat a lot of people. Beating Jeff Hardy is still something special.
That's a big deal.
That's a Hall of Fame guy. Like no one's gonna. You're beating a guy who's gonna be in the Hall of Fame, and you are a guy who has a pretty rough track record yourself. These injuries, all these different things. The pressure's on him. I think the pressure's really, really on Lars to deliver on this. But it is on everybody to a degree. But with Lars, it seems a little bit more obvious.
I think that happens a lot when you have guys that have those scandals and controversy and this negative buzz around them, where there's more pressure and in a way more expectations to kind of wait and see if they can kind of rise above that or just become another person that kind of gets hamstrung by a lot of the negative publicity around them. I mean,
Craig Backlund texted in here saying that promo was bad with Freak. He's just freaking,
man. I thought it was, if not good, I was definitely interested. And again, I wasn't really interested in Lars a week ago, 2 weeks ago, but now I'm more willing to give him a chance and see where he can go. I think I never like when they have these big guys just kind of rampaging around with no character, with no reason. But now we have a feel for why Lars is doing it, and I can get behind that at least more than I could previously.
So, comment coming in here. SmackDown was great. Lars's personality is kind of off. So some people kind of agree.
That's going to be the general sentiment. I feel like I'm in the minority. I haven't seen like pretty much any other person say something nice about Lars's promo, but I liked it. I understand why others may not, but I'd be hopeful that tonight could be the start of something good for Lars, and we might all be proven wrong about him. We never know.
All right, well, it's your show. It's your SmackDown Double Down, Colin. I just get to exist on it. What else? What else? I don't know. Tell me what I'm doing next. Do you want me to do jumping jacks? It's your show.
Something we have not talked about a lot tonight yet is Jey Uso and Roman Reigns killing it once again. We had them open and close the show both times. Absolutely phenomenal. You had Jey standing in the ring to open the show, really bringing the heat when he was talking to Roman, saying that like he literally said, "I hate you." Jey obviously lost the Hell in a Cell, so he was supposedly going to acknowledge Roman, but he still refused to. And Roman, ever so slowly, cranking up the heat, going from like kind of cool, collected babyface to like fully like kind of a jerk. He was being very, rubbing it in Jey's face as you just coldly remind him, like, "No, you did quit. I told you you're going to quit, and you did." It was like, and he did. Both guys.
That "I hate you" line. It's very melodramatic what they're doing, but I mean, I just gotta say, I don't think there's a more captivating thing in WWE right now.
Not at all.
Jey is the breakout star in this, and Roman is totally changing the perception of what he is to a lot of people that hated him. Like, he is a very methodical performer now, and is getting a lot more out of being a heel than I think he was getting out of being a babyface. I think he got everything he could out of being a
Absolutely.
babyface. I mean, when you don't want to love a guy who came back from cancer, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not making light of that for anyone who's dealt with it. I've had family members who have, and have lost family members to it. But I'm saying like that reality is profound. And the way he came back to WWE is big. And now it's this whole other dimension of the character. Like the big dog is gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can have big dog logo and the dog t-shirt and all that dog stuff, bark, bark, bark. But no, this tribal chief thing, this is the lane. This is a completely new character for him. I put this up on Twitter. I want to know your take on this. I'm trying to find the exact tweet because I got a lot of responses to this at WrestleZone.com. I'm trying to find this tweet. And it got a lot of impressions, thousands of people impacted by this. We have nearly 7,500 people and felt that were impacted by this tweet. That's not a shot at Impact Wrestling. Is Roman Reigns Tribal Chief storyline the best active story in WWE, Colin? And I asked people that question. I'll read their responses from our Twitter, but what do you think? Is this the best story in all of WWE right now? Because it feels like it is.
Now, I said yes, like without a doubt. I think both guys every single week are killing it with the character work. We saw that Hell in a Cell week in, week out on SmackDown. Every single time they're on screen, it's something compelling. It's something really powerful. You've got the emotion, you've got the personal connection between the two, obviously, and that just really resonates. So I replied to that tweet. Actually, I said yes, and someone called me out and said that NXT and AEW are offering more compelling storytelling. Now, obviously, you asked if it was the best storyline WWE.
Yes,
I can't think of anything.
And I include NXT.
Yeah, no, I don't think of anything on NXT matching that, especially with all the stuff they're going through with the injuries and everything right now. Like, this is far and away the best thing in WWE TV, in my opinion. And there's not even a distant second. They're like, but this is like grade A, and everything else is like significantly below. Because obviously you've got this.
Jeremy best in the world. Best Jeremy that we know. It's his name. He says, yes, it is. It's the best. Dennis Bernard texting in here saying, I can't believe Jay acknowledged Roman as the chief. I guess if you can't beat him, join him. It looks like this is the case. I see some type of stable being formed. Yes, I think that's the direction they're going in. And the bloodline stuff they did before, but with a whole new tattoo on it. You know what I mean? Like a whole new idea of it.
We're going to get some promos of them actually eating at the family table.
Dude, yeah, they got to do something at the table. They have to do something with the Wild Samoans, kind of like present for it. Like when one of the Usos does something wrong, they're gonna have to go meet the tribal chief.
Yep.
Like when they lose a match or something like that, like that's gonna happen. Like there's when you can, in a good way, see what the next thing is or the next thing you want from it. That's not bad. Like the way that people do that with the Fiend, like they want the Fiend to fight this guy, like that intrigue that people have with the Fiend. They're starting to have that now with Roman and like what he can do. On Twitter, though, a lot of people obviously saying this is great. They love it. At Hollywood 31 says it's the best storyline in wrestling, period.
I would agree. Agree.
And Ant Dale 86 says it's the best active storyline in years alone. In all of wrestling right now, someone says. Someone also just tweeted me just a gif of Roman with his shirt off saying yes. So there was that. So a lot of people with different takes on this. But obviously the question comes to mind, and we're going to keep getting asked this. At Philly fan 8611 says, when will The Rock show up and shut up Roman? so it all comes back to the Samoan dynasty. They're all in one family, legitimately. The Rock's nephew is Roman Reigns. His nephews are the Usos. They've brought out the Wild Samoans, his family as well. When is that going to happen? Right? We're going to be talking about this for months.
Yeah. You asked me to confirm whether or not The Rock will be facing Roman Reigns, and I said I could not confirm it. I think that's the logical conclusion. Obviously, that's what everybody wants to see at this point. I think it might be just a little smarter just to enjoy what we're getting, and I don't know if it's the best idea to expect The Rock, at this point. And we were talking about that last week, and if it happens, great, and if not, I'm sure they'll find something that's
I mean, if you do it, let's be frank. If you do it, it has to be at WrestleMania.
Oh, no doubt
You
about
can't
that. Yeah.
like it. Like I mean, if that's predictable to you, I'm sorry, but
Sometimes
that's where
predictability is
you need to
good.
do
Yeah.
this. You know what I mean? And if God willing, a vaccine comes and you can have some form of a WrestleMania with live fans, I think there will be some form of a WrestleMania with fans at it, vaccine or not. In some way,
Yeah.
whether it's a bigger Thunderdome,
Right.
a virtual thing, or some mixture of what we have at the Capitol Wrestling Center. But you're gonna need a guy who's gonna sell tickets, and WrestleMania is WrestleMania is the biggest wrestling show of the year. And Roman has said, if I come back for a match, it is with Roman. Like that is the circumstance, and he wants another one before he can't do it, and he's acknowledged, like, I wouldn't physically have the speed at a certain point, and I don't want to do that. With action movies, you can hide those things.
Right.
It's
very different.
You can hide when a guy isn't as fast as he once was. Sylvester Stallone has still been making action movies long past the idea of looking like an action hero that isn't an older guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He did those Expendables movies, and he got his neck injured on the first one, and they said, "Oh, we can't shoot him running a certain way. We have to shoot it like a." So, I mean, if you're The Rock, it's like, all right, well, how much longer can I do this? He's in his late 40s. He's gotten injured every other time he's come back to wrestle the last 10 years. But if you're going to do it, this is the way to do it. Like, I hope it happens. It'd be really disappointing if it doesn't happen, right? Because at this point, it's like, they haven't said it, though. They've never said, what is The Rock going to think of this? They've never said, what is your uncle The Rock going to think of it? They've never said that. This is all us. This is all us putting it out there right now.
Because the second that they acknowledge it, that just kind of opens the floodgates, right? Where it's like that first on-screen acknowledgement, then everyone's going to be, if not like expecting that match to happen, at very least, like all the fan speculation and fan clamoring for this match will just increase tenfold. Like everybody's, and we don't want to see that then.
And you have months of Roman just browbeating his nephews. You know what I mean? And I think Tamina could get weaved into this. They can bring in Tamina and do it as well, and him going off on her. And like, oh God, it's just like, you know what I mean? And it's so drunk because it's like, they're real family. Like, have you ever seen someone in another family and you're at your friend's house and like the family's yelling at each other? You want to know what's going to happen, but you don't want to be right there. Like, and this is the perfect wrestling stuff. Like, you want to see the conflict. This is a great one. Thanksgiving dinner. Going to be a weird one. It's going to be a weird one at the Reigns Uso.
Oh, that's to be lots of awkward silences.
Yes. Lots of awkward silence. Roman eats first. Roman makes his plate first. Everyone will wait for the leader to eat. What's the other question I have here? Oh, this is a great one. Jay Feliciano, man who knows some of the inner workings of WWE, says Bryan versus Chief at Royal Rumble. Where does Daniel Bryan play into this?
Well, he's going to want revenge after tonight. That much is clear. He's going to want revenge. I don't see him drawing it out that much. Royal Rumble's a little far in my eyes. If Roman's already taken up for Survivor Series with his match with Randy Orton, maybe TLC, but then if at that point you might as well hold off Rumble, right? So maybe they'll do an injury angle or something. But then Daniel just came back. I don't know. I think a Royal Rumble would be a good stage for it. Obviously, it's a big show. I definitely want to see that match, no matter when it happens. So
not everyone loving this feud though. Jeff Croop saying, I don't get why they did the feud if the Usos are willing to help him. I don't think they're willing. I think they're forced,
right?
Because it's like a family thing. Like the family says you have to do this now. Like there's stuff you do for your family that you don't want to do. You know what I mean? Like, I like seeing my family. I don't like Thanksgiving. I just don't.
Here, man.
You know what I mean? I just think I'll say something controversial. Turkey, overrated. Just overrated. Overrated.
I can get behind that.
So overrated. If you had a plate of like rotisserie chicken, I'm on board. I'll eat that all the time. Turkey, dry. Do I want to fall asleep after I eat it? You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. Like you do that because, all right, your family's having this. You come over and it's more about you being with your family than anything. It's not about Thanksgiving. So it's not like he's doing this because the family says he's the champion. We have to protect the family legacy. And like, you guys got to take a back seat now. Like you have to support him and do that. Like you're talented. Like you're a really talented guy, That's kind of the direction they're going in here.
Now, one other thing we haven't touched on yet we had a pretty big development tonight with the Seth Rollins and the Mysterio family feud, when Murphy came out saying he wants to apologize publicly to Ryan Dominic because no matter how much Murphy tries to reform, they just still won't forgive him. So Murphy came out and wanted to apologize, and they actually no-showed him. They at first didn't come out, and Seth Rollins did, and he said that no matter what, he will always forgive Murphy and accept him the way he is. And we got some more, development for the Murphy and Aaliyah romance going on, because by the end of the segment, the two of them kissed. So they're actually officially a thing now. And then you had Ray and Dominic come in, and they were brawling, and Murphy fought both of them. And despite that, Aaliyah sided with Murphy. So the family feud continues. And I tweeted this myself, but they're definitely going full Jerry Springer with it, for better or worse. I don't know.
They're full next. Jerry Springer with Roman too, but it's just,
in a good way.
It's more.
They're doing it so much better. I think the contrast is there, where it is dramatic, it is emotional, it is a little like, I don't want to say trash, but you're saying like the being the friend that the family friends and seeing them argue, like it's very different. Yeah. Like it's like kind of just a case of contrast. So we've got one family storyline, masterful, amazing, everybody loves it, and I name me like two people that like this very Mysterio Seth Rollins thing still, because it has run its course. It's repetitive. It is not. Thankfully,
I'll give them this. They're trying to do something to make it more interesting and give it that other new chapter. And because with Dominic entering the fold and having those matches with Seth, those were great. Those are some of the best matches WWE had this year. I think you can say that Dominic had one of the best debut matches of someone in WWE on that stage, SummerSlam, and he delivered. The match, the cage match they had, the stuff they did with the family beating down Murphy. I was like, when they beat down Murphy, I was kind of like, that's it. And then maybe you can do something with Murphy and Seth and stuff like that. And I think that it's just redundant. It's just it's like that Sasha Bayley thing. Like they've gone just a little bit too far with it. That's just where I see it right now. I don't know. I mean, I know some people are really mad about Aaliyah as someone who's like 18 or 19 being with a 35-year-old guy, but I'm also like, yeah, but it's also like something your father wouldn't approve of. So I guess that's like maybe that's what they're going for, and in the eyes of legality, it's fine. Also, this isn't like me talking about social justice issues or anything like that, nor am I acknowledging I've already gotten us into trouble with McDonald's. But if this was a 35-year-old woman and a 19-year-old man in a character, everyone would be like, ooh, that's salacious, that's scandalous, but I'm watching it and I'm in it and I'm not judging it, and get it. Go out there and get it. Like, oh, look at that. Look at that hot older lady sweeping up and rocking the cradle, right? So I think that's BS, because like you can call people out on that right away. I don't, you know what I mean? And also it's a storyline. It's not like, I don't think they're really dating, so I don't know. I think people, that's a reach. When people want to complain about something and impose like their idea of the world on something like that, I was like, it's a story.
I know.
I think it's a little bit much, but I don't know if it's a great story.
No.
At the same time,
I don't know if it's a great story. It's not.
And I know some people have been going off on Aaliyah's acting. What do you think of Aaliyah as a character in WWE? Oh, that pause there, Colin.
Because, all right, so as someone that writes about Raw every week, I got to see kind of her once she first showed up, and then I've seen pretty much, I think, every segment she's been in since all of this started. Not the worst. I think it's probably the nicest I could say, but it's not like appallingly bad. Like, it's just like, I guess it's what I would expect. Like, she's not someone that's been legitimately a professional wrestler for years or anything. Like, from what I understand, that she's kind of like got brought in because they had this idea for it. She's just trying to do the best she can. So
yeah,
I think that's to me, it's fine. If it's not good, but it's not like awful. I think
not an easy storyline to deal with too.
No.
You have to perform with your dad and your brother and all these other people. But yeah, I'm time for it to be done. I think you can evolve it into something else, like they did with Dominic. I mean, the stuff with Dominic and Ray at ringside was good and very compelling. And this, like, but it's definitely not where it was at SummerSlam. It's just not.
No, it's fallen far. I mean, Dennis Bernard Bolden saying Dominic definitely held his own as a competitor. Despite being the son of a legend, he has got my respect for paving his own way. I think that's very true. Where Dominic comes in, and being a Mysterio's son is a lot of pressure. It's a lot of weight on your shoulders. and he's killing it. He had both, as you said, Kevin, the great debut at SummerSlam, and then he teamed up with Ray at Payback, and he's gotten to be on Raw pretty regularly. Now he's on SmackDown, as you said, the most watched wrestling show. Pretty good start for a career, not too bad. And I think he's really making his own name for himself already. So I think tonight it would have been better, in my eyes, if they had just Murphy, Aaliyah, Ray, and Dominic. I think move Seth on to something else somehow, and that would freshen it up. Because on Raw, every single week you had Seth coming out, and Seth was kind of the central figure in all of this. And a good way to kind of just, as you said, evolve this feud in a way is just to, at the very least, kind of shift that focus. Whereas now Seth remains kind of the catalyst of sorts, and I just think that's another reason why I just feel so repetitive. Now, Jay Feliciano saying, Seth, does he get written off come December? If so, how? Because obviously Becky Lynch is pregnant, so that was probably bound to happen at some point.
That might mean he's not a part of Mania. Yeah, he may not be a part of WrestleMania then, or at least may not be a part of the WrestleMania build until like right before Mania.
I wouldn't mind that. I think he's been so constantly featured that he's gotten a little stale, especially with this Monday Night Messiah and now Friday Night Savior character.
I like the character. I think it works because here's the fact. Here's the fact. Okay, I know sometimes this is subjective, but here's the fact. He still has the best matches.
Yes,
he still has the best matches. He still is a character that you hate. I do think there's just something about WWE where we constantly want something we like that's been built up and built and it pays off. And then we want to turn on it and turn on it and turn it. And I think the wheel spins so fast and so quickly in terms of what we love and what we collectively don't like. We had someone like Rob Bain Jackson saying Leah's bad. The show is horrible. I didn't miss anything. Well, why are you saying anything if you didn't watch the show? If you didn't watch it, how do you get to have an opinion on it? I mean, maybe you watch a clip of it and then you can have an opinion on that. Doesn't that drive you crazy when people start saying their opinion about, like, you can, like, when a trailer for a movie comes out, like, oh, that looks like it's going to suck, right? That's fine. Like, I don't mind that. But if you saw nothing of it and you just read about it and you're just kind of sounding off on the idea, but trying to make it seem like it's a complete opinion, screw off. I'm like, whatever, dude. You're just trying to get likes and stuff like that. That's petty. But I definitely get the feeling Seth could go away for a while and come back fresh. Yeah. I mean, especially when you know him and you like him. I think when Charlotte comes back, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people were burned out on her before, but I could see them really losing their mind when the Queen struts back into the ring, and that could happen sooner than later.
Yeah, I think that'll happen for Seth whenever he does leave. Yeah, I think he's definitely earned time off, and I think everybody from Seth himself to us, the fans, will benefit, because I'm someone that has never particularly liked Seth, at least at least since he was had his like face of the company around last year. That really rubbed me the wrong way, and I've liked his work with this character, but at the same time, because he was on Raw every single week, multiple times a show, I'm pretty burnt out on him. Wasn't filled when he got drafted to SmackDown. No, I'm going to be doing the show, but I think it could be good for him just to go away for a bit, and even if it's doing the same character.
Here's the thing about this. I'll say this. It's long-term booking, though. I mean, this is a feud that's been going on since the spring, went all through the summer. And, 10, 20 years ago, that's the way people wanted their stories. Now, because you have a pay-per-view every month and you have TV every week and you have hours of TV every week, I think the pages turn a little bit quicker and people get burned out on it. But a good question here from Elliot Jemison, after everything they've done with it, the Dominic stuff, now bringing Aaliyah and the Murphy turning on Rollins and them having matches, and it's this kind of like three-fronted war within this storyline here. How do you end this feud? Great question from Elliot Jemison. What do you think? How do they end it?
I think I see Seth getting written off somehow, whether it's Murphy beating the tar out of him in like a hardcore match or something, and just like writing him off of an injury, or just having him getting beat that badly. And I think, as I said earlier, the best move, if you want to keep this going, would be to pivot so that it's Murphy against the Mysterios. And I guess the ultimate payoff would be Murphy versus Ray, because they've already done Murphy and Dominic a couple times. So I think that feels like the biggest and most compelling path forward at this point. Granted, I would hope that wouldn't take too much longer. I would hope that we're done with this, at max by the end of the year.
Mhm.
I don't know if I could take another 2 months of this.
I don't think they can get this to WrestleMania. That would be like a full,
please no.
straight,
Oh my gosh.
uninterrupted year of Mysterio's family, Rollins, Murphy. Like, I don't see it going that far.
I hope not. Well, if you think about it, I think this feud started technically. I remember a Seth interview. It was like last November or something like that. Like right after Seth turned heel, it was like right after Survivor Series, and he blamed the Raw roster. He insulted Ray and Dominic and something like that.
I was at that show.
Long-term booking.
I was at that show. I was at that Raw.
Oh,
it was right after. It was right. That was the Raw after Survivor Series when everyone was around the ring, and he cut that really cool promo, and he brought up CM Punk, and that's all everyone wanted to talk about. I interviewed Seth Rollins that week, and it was like right as he was about. You knew he was going to turn heel, and it was really just that weekend is where it happened, and of course he talked about the CM Punk match that didn't happen, and wanted that. So who knows? I do think this ends before the end of the year, and this is when Seth goes away for a while. I something makes me think he's on WrestleMania, but if ever there was a year to not be on a WrestleMania, I think it would be when you just had a baby.
I would say so. Yeah.
So that would be the case. So what else you want to cover on here, man? Before we get out of here,
you want to do some news?
I want to do some news. Some news.
Something about today.
Some news you can use. Some news to leave room. So what's going on in WrestleZone right now?
Now we have a couple of notable AEW news pieces where Pac will be on AEW this week. AEW Dynamite to break his silence after months of isolation and being away. So that's obviously big for them. Pac is one of their most notable stars and hasn't been around for a while because of COVID and everything. So it's a good chance to kind of get him back in the fold. So that'll be pretty exciting. And I'm curious to see what he does, especially now they've got. I think a natural direction would be that he got left out of this tournament for the AEW title, and he's been clamoring for a title shot ever since he got there, and he has still hasn't gotten one. So pretty natural direction to me, but they could do anything with him because he is a very top level star. So I'm sure that AEW and the fans will be glad to get him back. What do you think, Kevin?
I mean, they were going to go somewhere with the Death Triangle, with Pac aligning himself with other fast, hard-hitting cruiserweights in the Pentagon, Penta El Zero and Ray Phoenix. And that really never got fulfilled because of the pandemic. And then they kind of just took Penta and Ray and put them in the fold with Eddie Kingston. And so I think maybe there's something there, but Eddie's kind of already busy with Moxley. I think Pac against Penta or Ray would be entertaining. I think that's the way to go. But we don't know the health status of Ray because he got pulled out of the tournament. He's had some neck and shoulder issues already. I think maybe you could go there with Penta. Him and Pac, some mixture of that, or he doesn't do anything with those guys, and he goes off on somebody completely different. It's kind of a fresh slate for him with the pandemic. A lot of people have been away because of the pandemic, and they don't want to perform. Like Roman came back; it was completely fresh slate, and they come back in a different way because they're them, you want to see them, and then they get to do something new. And I think AEW now kind of has that same idea with Pac, is he can kind of come in a fresh player. I'm not saying things are tired in AEW, but they definitely need a new heel. Because some of their heels don't feel as viable as they once were a while ago. And they can always be built up. You can always get people back to where they once were, or where they were in a contender position. With him, it's just, he's a really talented guy. I think the Bastard character is very good for him. It's snarly, him curling his mustache and tying a woman to a train track. Dastardly. I think he could go there. Yeah.
And we have WWE continuing to crack down on the Twitch channels of the superstars. And the headline today was that several superstars tried to have a last chance kind of, pitch to Vince to try and change his mind, and it didn't work. So WWE kind of officially. Well,
another thing is not all of them are done. Not all of them. Yeah, not all of them are completely out of it.
But AJ Styles, Paige, two of the bigger ones.
So they're completely done now?
I think I saw that AJ kind of shut his channel down, or at least suspended it. And Paige, I think, was at the very least saying that she was very upset about all this. The WWE was cracking down. And so I think that's at the very least kind of the direction this is heading. The WWE is going to continue to try and do what they can to kind of control all this to the extent they can. And that's just drawing even more criticism of how they're trying to control people. So it's not a good look for them.
I don't know. I mean, it's definitely been a really controversial thing that WWE did. I get why they're doing it as a company, and I don't hear anyone who can tell me why they shouldn't be able to do it as a company and for not do it for company business reasons.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people just say it because I like these superstars and I like following them on Twitch and I like these characters and you shouldn't take this away from them. And it's the people versus the company, right? I get that. But then if you're an independent contractor, then that gets into really murky waters and people start talking about the unionized stuff. And I've always brought up my relationship that I have with my main job is 101 WKQX at radio in Chicago. And I have to get clearance from them to do what I do here on WrestleZone. There was a handful of emails and I had to clarify things and go through all that stuff. And also in their eyes, even though this isn't direct, I kind of still represent them and stuff like that, and like that's why I say clarifying statements when I'm like joking about McDonald's or something like that. You guys know I'm making a joke. McDonald's is great. It's lovely. Come on. You against a Big Mac? There we go. I don't want to anger McDonald's. I just don't want Ronald McDonald coming to my house wanting to kick my ass.
Oh, nobody wants
and he
that.
could. I really do think he could. I really do. He's very tall, very lanky. It's got that movement, foot movement, but no, it's a tough situation. It's a tough situation to put WWE in to say that like you're going to go do whatever you want, but you're going to use the name we give you on TV. I don't have an issue with that. If they tell people like you can go do Twitch, but you can't use your WWE name, I don't think there's any problem with that. And then people have a huge issue with that. Like when someone gets their name changed, it's like you're on their show. like, this isn't your show. Right. This is their show. And you're on their show and they get to call the shots on their show. It's like, so I don't know anyone who can defy that beyond just, well, I like this person and they're suppressing people and all these different things. And I get it, taking this from people and saying, this is going to be a part of your downside guarantee. The finances of that are kind of aggressive in a way. But you understand no one's doing live events. They're not even doing signings. So why would you have a Twitch? Okay, you're doing some fun things on Twitch. You're right. And you're playing video games, all those different things on it. You're going to go play any video game you want. But if you're a WWE superstar and we have you on network TV with network TV advertising and we're selling all these multi-branded, faceted licensed deals, we're doing, meet and greets with Cricket on Zoom or something like that. Things that you've seen. This isn't I don't even know if they're doing stuff like that, but they're doing meet and greets.
They are, yeah.
So if you're doing those, why would we let you go do a cameo? Why would we let you have a cameo where you're doing that and that isn't tied to a sponsor? It isn't tied to a sponsor or somebody who's already a business partner with us. So if you're WWE, that makes you look very, very loose in terms of how you're shoring up your talent and how do you use the brand and different things like that. I'll use a WKQX example. If I'm doing a WKQX event and we have a sponsor with it, and then I go and do a comedy show or something with WrestleZone that has a completely conflicting sponsor, one beer and another beer, something like that. I always do beer events. I love doing them. They're really, really fun. And you get to give away prizes and different stuff like that. But I mean, that would not be fair to the other sponsor in my other things. So you kind of have to balance these different plates. It's a business reason. And especially when so many more people are spending more time online. And that's become the new event space, is having an event online.
Right.
So this is WWE adapting to the times, just like they're doing with the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
I don't think it's particularly like fair, but there's so many things that aren't fair right now that feel like they have to happen to get ahead. And then some people are, adjusting, like bringing those podcasts into the network. They brought Source City onto the WWE network. Lillian Garcia did an interview with us about it. It's like, those are things where I'm like, that's cool. Like, I'm into that. If you're going to do stuff with like Twitch streams and things like that, and like have the wrestlers in and they're playing video games or they're playing the new, I'm on board. Like up, down. That's a great channel. But mind you, I believe it's been talked about. WWE has some interest in that. They have a stake in that. They have a stake in that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Like, there's some people that figured it out, and are working within it, and there's other people that don't want to do that. They want to do it the way they were doing it. So it's an individual decision for every person. Like AJ pulling, on his Twitch. Maybe he's going to figure out how to do it within WWE. Yeah. All right. So are they going to tell me what games I can play? Is it is it that, like, then do I want to watch him play this game I don't really care about? Like, there's a lot of factors to this from different directions with people having their own interests. And obviously everyone just thinks WWE is evil because they're doing it. And I don't agree with that.
No,
I understand why they're doing it. I feel for the people that are affected by it.
Yeah. It's as you said, it's just business, and WWE is business, and most of the things they do boil down to that. It's business.
It's not a personal thing.
You know what I mean? Personally,
Yeah, but people want to do that because it's like Vince is evil. Vince, I know this billionaire by his first name, so I say his first name, which is ridiculous. You don't know. You watch the TV show he does. Yeah. People hate Vince like they hate George Lucas, man. They love Star Wars, but you got to tell you the guy who created it is evil and he has to go away, which is so ridiculous. We have Vince McMahon news this week.
Vince McMahon is getting a Netflix documentary, and I'm very excited. Bill Simmons is the executive producer, right?
Mm-hmm. Bill Simmons is the executive producer. He handled a lot of big sports documentaries. He's been a big factor in podcasting with his own show that was under the ESPN banner for a long, long time. I believe he had The Ringer was a lot of different stuff he was involved with. But he also produced a very, very great documentary, a documentary that will bring a tear to your eye. And if you have not seen it, you have to go see it. It was done under the HBO umbrella. HBO was involved with this, and WWE completely cooperated with it. And it's very well reviewed. You can see it on the network now, too. It finally got on WWE Network. It was just on HBO for a long time. Is Andre the Giant. The Andre the Giant documentary is one of the best wrestling documentaries. Absolutely. There are a lot of stories you've heard before, but you get some different insight on. There is the hokey stuff with like Hulk Hogan saying that Andre didn't want to win the match, or at WrestleMania 3 and Hogan things, right? Brother. But Bill loves wrestling of a certain time in a certain way, and I think he'll treat it the right way. But I mean, the immediate chatter I heard of it is, well, are they going to make him look bad? Because, like if they're not honest, or are they going to be honest about it? There was that immediate knee-jerk reaction to it. But there was a lot of interest in it. And this is the biggest budget documentary series. This isn't just a single thing. So this is going to play out like you're going to be able to binge this if you want. So it's very interesting. And I don't know, all the streaming platforms are doing the different thing. Have you seen this now with like Amazon Prime where they put out an episode every week or something?
Oh, yeah. That's common practice now, especially with all the, circumstances we're in. It doesn't make as much sense to have things premiere at once. A lot of these companies are kind of drawing it out to kind of, suspend that interaction.
And it varies between on what show it is. And like some of these shows, we're gonna put the whole thing up, you can watch it all now, right? And then other ones are just like, well, we're gonna give you 2, and then next month we'll give you 2, and then
people lost their minds to that for The Boys. I know, and
that drove people crazy because they didn't know it was gonna happen, and then they thought they were gonna be able to get the whole thing. So, but it's a money reason. They already got you guys. They already know you like the show. They can look at the metrics. So. Would you think this documentary is going to be interesting? It's got to have to be.
No matter what, it will be interesting. And whether or not it makes them look good or bad, it will be interesting. I am very excited. I mean, obviously, Bill Simmons, top-notch documentary producer, so it's going to be good. I
like that it's going to be a series because then they're going to be able to go a little bit further into something.
Exactly.
In terms of McMahon, this is a guy he's gone to war with people. I mean, he literally turned the wrestling business upside down. And made it a pop culture thing that people see differently, and you can do that's an episode. Like WrestleMania becoming a thing is an episode. The steroid trial in the 90s it becomes an episode. Them going up against like a little bit of the WCW stuff is. I want to know more about his upbringing because his upbringing, people know about it, but it's a very challenging upbringing when everyone thinks that there's this wide assumption that he like came from a silver spoon type situation, right? Which didn't really happen until later in his youth, so and that there's some of that I don't know that I want to know more about. There's been some illusions that he had some that he endured some abuse as a child as well, but I don't know it completely. And also it's just like for anyone who is in wrestling media, Colin, like if I ask you this, who do you want to interview in wrestling? Vince McMahon needs to be on your list.
Yeah,
like
big time. Like, what do you answer? Do I think I'd get the interview? Do I think he'd answer my questions? Honestly, no, but I'd want to try, right?
Oh, you don't think he would answer your questions honestly?
No.
What? You think he's going to work you? Come on now, Colin. Come on now.
I do hope.
Vinnie Mac.
I do hope the documentary, because everybody knows the Vince McMahon like general story about, oh, he turned wrestling on its head, oh, he beat WCW, all these things. I just hope it kind of does something like you said, his upbringing, stuff like that. Just I want to know things that we don't already know. I want to know. Or,
I mean, we're gonna know about the steroid trial. We know to a degree, but I don't. Vince has never really gone on the. He's gone on the record about a handful of times.
Yeah,
and it's always been very, very tense when he does. But I think that's going to be an episode in itself. Like that is absolutely an episode in itself.
A huge deal. Yeah,
and how he beat the federal government. Like they try to put this rap on him because for political reasons. I think mostly it would be tied to like who he was donating to and what political figures he was donating to, and there were a lot of reasons for that. And so that's interesting to see. And also his relationships with like The Rock and The Undertaker and like his relationships with like big time superstars. We know that pretty well though, so like when you see those WWE network documentaries and people go through Gorilla, their interaction with Vince is Vince McMahon. Yeah, see, I did. Their interactions with Vince McMahon are the biggest things. Like that you see that gray background, and they like when Dominic got acknowledged by him at SummerSlam, when Kevin Owens a couple of years ago had a match with Chris Jericho and he went through and Vince just went and he had the headset on, and like the reality of that is very compelling, especially if you're a fan. And so seeing that would be interesting. I'm on board. I'm on board. I don't have Netflix, but hey, don't worry. You know someone who does. Right? Isn't the way it works? Yeah.
All right.
What else we got here, man?
What?
Are we done? Are we wrapped up?
I think so.
Is that it?
Yeah.
we don't have anything else. What an awkward ending. This is like the end of the Q3 quarterly call from WWE. It's question. Oh, okay, we're done. We're done now. We're done.
Seemed like an stopping point. I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of that quarter 3 call about WWE business, our very own Robert DeFelice and Dominic D'Angelo. I was not here yesterday. I was at AAW live on pay-per-view on Fight TV. Get the replay right now. I get made fun of quite a bit in the show. I get made fun of a lot. All right, so go watch it and watch me get made fun of by Stephen Wolf and Sky Blue. And a great match, great tag team match with Mance Warner and Jake Something versus Hakeem Zayn. You may know him as Rohat Raju from Impact Wrestling, and Karam. And it is quite the match to see. Karam. I always keep messing that up. Karam. I had to talk to people. I'm sorry to Karam, by the way, of doing that over and over again. You ever that with someone's name where you keep messing up like crazy and I'm on camera? I'm so worried. I look like such a dork. But I mean, I guess I'm supposed to be a dork. So watch me be a dork. Watch the matches be great. AAW on Fight TV. But the podcast we had yesterday was really, really great. I know you checked it out.
I did.
And they really went in depth on where WWE is going as a business within the pandemic, and that's really interesting. There's certainly some Vince McMahon things, and he was on the quarter 3 call. But check out our podcast about that. Very intriguing, very interesting to see where things are going here. I'm hoping for good things in Survivor Series. I do think it's like a slotted show, though. Overall, I want something else. I want some with Roman. I want something cool with Roman. But I just feel like
the All-Star game, like you're saying, it feels like kind of in a vacuum, like everything's
it does feel like it's in a vacuum. You know what it is. It is this, but there's bound to be. Last year, it was one of the better shows that WWE had the whole year. So, but I don't know. I think the lack of NXT on it is still something I have to get my head around. But what are you gonna do? Where can they follow you on the Twitter machine? That's what we're supposed to say at the end.
On Twitter, you can follow me at CT_2110. And I work WrestleZone News Desk on Sunday, Monday, and Wednesdays. So
all right. So definitely check them out Halloween weekend. We hope you guys have a safe Halloween weekend as well. Maybe you want to throw candy out your door at a kid on the sidewalk. That's kind of cool. And hope you have fun enjoying all the different things you can do on Halloween that you can do safely. Continue to be safe. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Get out and vote on Monday if you want to get in the lines early, all that fun stuff. All right, obvious things, but you can follow me on Twitter at KevKellam, KEVKELLAM. A lot of fun stuff there, and we'll be back here on Monday night after Monday Night Raw. Also, follow us on Facebook. So if you like us, if you follow too, all right, you do the follow thing, then you get the notifications and you know when we go live on Facebook. On YouTube, like, subscribe, turn your notifications on, dings, you know when we go live, because I'm doing breaking news videos now outside of the WrestleZone wrap up and the SmackDown Double Down. These are breaking news videos. So like when something happens, we can start talking about it as soon as possible because you guys are just devouring content like crazy. Please share the show. That's all I ask. Share the show, right? They got to share the show, right, Colin?
They do. I want to give Craig Backlund a shout out for saying this is good, such good shoot. Love WrestleZone daily, and we always try to provide a good shoot to all you guys. That's our number one priority. So thank you for the support. Thank you for watching and listening.
We will take all your shoot. We will take all your shoot because we are the shoot. All right. Yeah. All right. We'll get out of here. Do you pitch to me for the Enjoy Wrestling line, or do I pitch
I was
to
about
you?
I was about to turn the tables on you and say,
oh,
Kevin.
you got. You know what? Hey, I'm gonna let's act like we didn't just have this conversation. Wow, we're getting to the end of the show, there, Colin. So what do we do now at the end of the show?
Well, Kevin, it's the end of another at least weekday. So of the 5 weekdays, full of wrestling content. No matter what's good, what's bad, no matter what's going on in the world, we do one thing. Yes. One thing above all else here at WrestleZone.com.
Just
what's that, Kevin?
Oh, I ask the question all the time. And usually, oh yeah, enjoy wrestling.
Indeed.